Problem Solvers Caucus, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey. He recently returned from high-level meetings with officials in the Middle East focused on freeing the Israeli hostages from Gaza. Congressman, thanks so much for being here with us. You were in Egypt, you were in Qatar. We had just a couple of days ago the parents of Hirsch, Rachel Goldberg, who we saw in the show yesterday after her meeting with Kamala Harris, and the agony that they've been suffering through for the last 6 months, their desperation to get their loved ones home. What more can you tell us about this negotiation and any slivers of hope?
Well, I'm seeing in a couple hours and spoke to last night the Alexander family, whose son, Don Alexander, is from my district in Tenafly, New Jersey. I obviously haven't seen or spoken to their son in 6 months. The pain is unimaginable, but they remain hopeful, and so do I. I mean, we've got to do everything, and this was the focus of my trip to Qatar and Egypt, meeting with the lead negotiators from both sides on their teams and obviously with our officials on the ground to focus on how do we make sure we get these hostages home. The Americans remain hostage. As we know, 40 Americans were killed. We don't talk enough, in my opinion, about getting those hostages home and doing everything we can to do that, and that to me is, the top objective of all these negotiations. How do we get these hostages home? How do we get humanitarian aid into the region, of course, and stop Hamas from firing rockets at Israel, and make sure that we significantly crush Hamas?
So, Congressman, when we talk privately, even off the air, to the parents of hostages, and we do a good bit, you talk to even Israeli officials, they concede that the hostage crisis is something of a black box. They don't know exactly how many of them are still alive. They don't know where they are. They don't know how they're being treated. Is there any hope that you can offer that someone somewhere along this chain does know that information, and that they do have hope that there is a way, one way or another, whether it's rescue, whether it's negotiation, to get the hostages out of Gaza?
Well, I think Hamas understands that is their leverage here. They need to have these hostages and have those hostages alive. But you're right, there's not a lot of information. But I'll tell you what I saw up close in speaking to the hostage negotiators and the negotiators of these deals, and frankly, while I was at dinner in Egypt with the lead negotiators on the Egyptian side, they left twice to speak to Hamas officials to try to figure out, if we can make progress toward that deal. We saw the CIA director in there this weekend. You saw the Secretary of State talk hopefully yesterday. I mean, that now the ball is in Hamas's court on this next round of deals. It all comes back to making sure we get these hostages out. And I saw hope. They're working around the clock to get this deal done. But, time is not favorable. And the bottom line is I can't imagine what these families are going through not knowing, right? The Red Cross has not been allowed to check on their family members. We know there's been sexual abuse and violence with some who were released early on. So it's unimaginable what's going on with these hostages, including the American hostages and others. And I think we've got to do everything we can, to get these hostages home.
Congressman Sam Stein here. I want to broaden out a little bit to talk about the overall conduct of the war. President Biden, in a Univision interview, called the Netanyahu government's actions a mistake, referring to, I think, specifically how it is not allowing humanitarian aid into Gaza. Obviously, an immense amount of criticism over the targeting of these World Food Kitchen workers. We've seen some movement, I believe, by the Israeli forces since then. But I'm curious, do you share the administration's view that the Netanyahu government can and should be doing more? And secondarily, Senator Schumer the other day said that he wants new elections in Israel. Do you believe that Benjamin Netanyahu's government has been prosecuting this war in an effective and strategic manner?
Well, whatever my feelings are about Benjamin Netanyahu, I believe we should not interfere in the elections of a key Democratic ally. I'll leave that to them. I'll tell you that what you have seen, even in the last day, I think a record number of aid trucks getting into Gaza yesterday. I think that's all very positive. We also see, and you know this, we see that, of course, Hamas continues to use innocent Palestinians as human shields. They today could surrender. Sinwar could surrender today. He could let the hostages go today. Let's not forget, and I don't know if you saw the comments of Secretary Blinken, I think it was yesterday, he said, where's the outrage here? Let's not forget that the ball is also in Hamas's court. They're the ones who attacked on October 7th. They killed 1,200 butchered, decapitated, ripped babies out of wombs, and burned babies alive. We saw it on October 7th. So my point is we shouldn't lose sight of that, and we also do everything we can, and our goal has to be focused on getting the hostages out, getting that temporary pause here so we can get more humanitarian aid into the region, which is critical, and of course crush Hamas, which, by the way, hates America as much or more than they hate Israel, as do all these other Iranian proxies in the region who continue to fire rockets at us, right, and the United States in the Red Sea with the Houthis. Well, Hezbollah continues to fire into Israel. We know Palestinian Islamic Jihad continues to take action. So let's not lose sight, whether it's Iraq or Syria and the American service members who were killed. Let's not lose fact of the fact that they've continued to attack us as well as Israel. We've got to make sure we keep stability in the region, but our goals are clear: to make sure that we get those hostages out, get more humanitarian aid in, and I'm very glad to see that more is getting into the region even in the last days.
Hey everyone, MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.